So the grayscale mode is in 1. First of all, I would like to add that we will be using all those necessary code in the first place that we had used earlier, and we will be using them right over here. Press Ctrl S, head back to your project and reload, and you can see that nothing changes. Now on the second hand, there is another filter property which can be used in this particular case, like if we wish to use the opacity. So we are now using the filter opacity right over here. We are placing it as a 0.3, and we'll be using the same piece of code everywhere. And in this particular case, we'll be using a black color for this background image that we had created earlier. So press Ctrl S, head back to our project. We'll be need some further modification into it. If we reload, we can see that this will be practically the result. We had practically mentioned this height attribute here, as we had said you earlier, that never use any kind of height attribute. First of all, you may apply it once when you are practically understanding whether the div is working properly or not. But once it has been settled, then always discard this height attribute, and instead you may be using some kind of padding properties as we had seen earlier. So here it goes, reload, and you can see that this will be the result. The fox is right in the place where it should have been. We may make some certain modifications right over here, like instead of this fox small, we may use here the fox big.png image, and instead of this bottom right, we may use this top center. Ctrl S, reload, and you can see that this will be the result. So now if we wish to apply two definite CSS filter properties into the same exact code, this is can also be done. This is can be associative, and here it goes. This is the thing that we need to understand, like this one, grayscale 1. So we are using two different CSS filter properties as been mentioned right over here. Here it goes. Copy them all, paste them in places, press Ctrl S, reload, and you can see that both the grayscale and the opacity property is being imposed into the image that we are practically working on. In the similar fashion, if we want to use some more CSS filter properties along with the same CSS code, then we need to mention it properly here, like we are increasing this brightness here. So the brightness will be 200% for say, and we are practically using 3 successive CSS filter properties into our code, and we will be seeing whether they are working or not. So there it goes. Now press Ctrl S, head back to your project and reload, and you can see that all of them are working properly. So now we can see that we are practically working with an image which has some definite CSS filter properties like this brightness, like the grayscale, and like the opacity. Now in the final case, first of all we are going to do, we will be commenting out all of them. There it goes. So we have commented out all of those filter properties. So for those we had created right over here, press Ctrl S, head back to your project and reload. And now you can see that everything comes back right into its proper order. Now, on the other hand, if we head back to our style.css, and here we are providing some different filter effect, and we'll be seeing the, of course, result here. Like this is the filter, and in the first case, we will be using this brightness property here of 200%. Skip all those browser codes. Press Ctrl S, head back to your project and reload, and you can see that the brightness of this image is now enhanced. And in the next case, we will be using this padding property of 1 rem. for say and we'll be putting all the box sizing of border box. Reload. There it goes. So everything comes back into order, and on the other hand we had to make another change. Instead of this full black color, we are about to use the green color, or you may say instead of this green one we may make usage of 255 value, that means this blue color. So press Ctrl S, head back and reload, and you can see that the background is now turning into a blue color, and there is a definite image into our project with an enhanced brightness into it. Now let's head back to our background testing image part, and here we will be using, first of all we'll be associating those properties here. So we will be using another definite feature which is known as drop shadow, and here we are putting some definite values like this 8 pixels, and for say 10 pixels, and we'll be putting some color here like this one. So press Ctrl S, we'll be just observing the result in the first place, head back to your project and reload, and now you can see that there is a definite drop shadow property which has been imposed to our image. Can we see it? There it goes. We can see that this is the drop shadow. So for the sake of understanding, let's decrease this value here to 3 pixels, reload, and you can see that this will be the result. I think now it is being a better prominent here. So we can see that a drop shadow has been created into our image source. Now what is all these particular codes? Those are practically doing right over here. Whenever we are mentioning about a drop shadow, then we need to mention the horizontal drop shadow, the vertical drop shadow, the spread of the box shadow, and of course the color of that individual imposed drop shadow. And we can see that on applying all those positive values, this will be the result. So we can see that a drop shadow is being generated at the right and at the bottom part of our image. The top and the left part is practically being undisclosed. So now if we head back and if we put some negative values to it, so we are applying some negative values to the horizontal, the vertical shadow. And now if we head back to our project and reload, now we can see that the reverse thing happens. The drop shadow now shifts to the top and to the left part of this individual image. Now we will be using something different here, like for say invert. Now we want this full invert right over here. Press Ctrl S, reload, and we can see that the image is now inverted along with the drop shadow applied to it. If we do not wish to use this drop shadow, then we may remove it and we may put this invert here only. We may apply another grayscale filter properties. So we want a full grayscale. Press Ctrl S, reload. This will be the result. In the last case, we will be applying some kind of opacity to it. There it goes. Opacity, let it stay to 0.3. Reload, and we can see that this will be the result. So everything now stays back as it should have been. We had practically made usage of 4 filter properties here. The first one and the obvious one is the brightness, the second one is invert, the third one is grayscale, and the fourth one is the opacity. We had made usage of another property here which was known as drop shadow. So all of them can be combined into a single image and can be applied on. Let's increase it a little bit more, 0.5. There it goes. And of course, never forget to use all those browser code before. There it goes. So all of them are practically being imposed into it. And first of all, let's make some changes here. Like instead of this blue color, we won't be needing this blue color anymore. We'll be using this black color. Reload. There it goes. We may make some changes here. We may specify some background size like contain. Press Ctrl S. It stays right over here. So this is the part that we need to know from this tutorial. In the next part, we will be knowing about the technique on how to write on this applied image that we had created and centering that individual writing into our image. Stay tuned.